Yeah, you can't do that. If we get into something and I actively engage, and while I'm winning, I'm good. Now I'm starting to lose, so I got an attitude. So now I want to go and tell to get you in trouble. That's not right. And that's basic. That's what he's done by filing a lawsuit.
All your food delivery needs, make sure you go to Light Snack, that's LYTE snack.com, and make sure for all your deliveries, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you visit Light Snack and they'll deliver it right to your door. And make sure when you get those deliveries, make sure you're ordering those Magic City wings. And remember, their motto, don't forget to lick the sauce. Welcome everyone to another edition of Not Just Another Sports Show. I am your host, KD, and you all know that Not Just Another Sports Show stands for No Jazz, NOJSS. And of course, as always, I have my right-hand man, the man with all the information, the man who gives you all the insider information on all the information you need. How many times did I just say information? Because he is informative. Tank. Tell the people what's up, Tank.
What's up, people? If your team is in first place and you're 9-3, let me hear you say, yeah.
Was
you
that
can't
like
say nothing.
Was that like ugly people be quiet?
Exactly. Because if you're not 9-3 or better, your team and your record is just ugly.
It's ugly. It's definitely ugly. It's definitely ugly, man. And before we get into the ugliness, before we get into the good, the bad, and the ugly of this past sports weekend, happy holidays to everyone. And I hope you did enjoy your Thanksgiving weekend of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. A lot of football, a lot of basketball was going on being played. But I just want to thank everyone for tuning in, and make sure you follow us on X at No Jazz Show, NOJASSSHOW. On Instagram, the same thing, No Jazz Show. Make sure you follow us on YouTube or go join our group, and make sure you're interactive on No Jazz Show. And then, of course, TikTok, No Jazz, no S on the show. So at any rate, and I think I got that right. I hope I got that right. And make sure you all go to YouTube, hit the like button, comment, subscribe, share, do all those things. And we definitely appreciate your support that you all have been giving us. Subscribers have been going up. Viewership has been going up, and a lot of you are letting the people know that we are good. And this is a very exciting time for us as we get closer into the nitty gritty of football. We're out of November, going into December. Everything matters. Everything counts. So with that being said, we had a very exciting Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that includes NFL and college, shakeups and breakups. If you lost no opportunity, well, in the NFL maybe, but if you lost college, possibility of no opportunity for a makeup. This was the last weekend. It was rivalry weekend, and we're going to get into that. But right now, we're going to start with the big dogs, the behemoth of American sports. That is the NFL. And the top game for me that I was paying attention to was, kind of reminded me, with the exception of the coaches, but the two black quarterbacks, an HBCU type of game between the Eagles and the Ravens. And this was definitely a top viewership game of the weekend. Kind of saw some things go down with Lamar Jackson. He kind of, I won't say he resorted back to his old self, because if he resorted back to his old self, they might have won.
Yeah, that's what his mama think.
Yeah, that's what his mother. That's what his mother thinks. That's what his mother thinks. And sometimes you have to hold yourself accountable for when you don't do what's naturally, I should say, comes to you. And then again, his reasoning was he was going through his progressions, and it ended up not, faring well for him. But I just believe, he's always been in that situation where, when you have the defenses that can read you in that manner, he just kind of falls into doing, those things, and you really can't improvise, especially when you have the athletes on the other side of the ball. Great tackling by the Eagles. Open field tackle. That was a great open field tackle by that rookie cornerback on Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
That was some
Legene,
good stuff, man. Good stuff. Go ahead, Tank.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're talking about his mother who said that Lamar should have run more. He said she cussed him out because he should have been taking off running more. But at the same time, like you said, he said he was going through his progressions and letting routes develop. That tells me if he's taking his time to try to go through his progressions and he's having the kind of lack of success that he was having doing that, that means he needs to learn how to read and go through his progressions quicker.
Absolutely.
I mean, okay, I'm going through my progression. No, you flip it or take off. But don't just, okay, I'm still waiting.
Turns into holding the ball too long.
Yeah, and your receivers need to get in and out of their routes quicker also. But ultimately, what comes down to them winning or losing is you've got to feed the ball. You got to get the ground game established with Henry. I mean, they are not winning anything if they don't get Henry rolling early and late. If Henry, you need over 100 out of Henry every week. That's just the bottom line.
How many carries? How many think?
25 or more.
Okay.
He's a high carry back, and he's going to get yardage. But the way he is, he can get you your 3 yards and cloud of dust. But he's a legitimate breakaway threat. So even if after 20 carries he only has say 60 yards, if and you haven't gotten to the fourth quarter yet, he's gonna pop a long one. I mean, that's what he does. Or the chances, the opportunity is there. But you can't get away from the running game with Henry. You need to do what gets you there. But Philly wasn't scared of him. The other teams that have been afraid of Henry. Philly was coming up laying the lumber to him. And Henry, I mean, for all the good and great things you want to say about him, if you put a hat on him early and keep on for a quarter, I'm not going to say he folds, but I will say that he's not running the same way as he would have been had he gotten off early. Because you didn't see him really get off this past week. Because they
it does remind you of kind of how a boxer, if they're used to getting off early and they get that confidence in their game plan early, you see them take over late. And if it doesn't happen, when you punch that bully in the mouth, they get confused and I won't necessarily say the fight is out of them, but their fight.
Yeah. They start fighting themselves. Yeah.
Right.
They start fighting themselves. What's going on? What's going on? And on the other side, we saw Saquon just doing what Saquon does.
Saquon doing what Saquon does.
And Saquon is in the top 3 MVPs for me right now at this point in time.
And Saquon almost took the people tend to mistake this when you start marqueing players. But Saquon almost took this game personally as who's the best running back in the NFL, who should be looked at as that top guy. He kind of had a game within a game. And he definitely showed. And for the weekend, I will say, because I'm going to segue into the next game, I definitely proud of the 2 "we'll get rid of you and send you to another team" players and that is Saquon Barkley, and who I'm going into next, Mr. Russell Wilson. You know, and everyone knows, the Giants got rid of Saquon, and look at what Saquon's doing this year. The Broncos got rid of Russell Wilson, and you can take it from here and you tell me what Russell Wilson is doing this year. Well, this last game.
What he did this last game, what he's been doing, he's been cooking, baby.
He cooking.
He's been cooking.
He's
He's getting more and more acclimated to everything they want to do. They're expanding the playbook. You see him today, this past week. People have been saying, you've heard these analysts saying, he can't throw over the middle. He got to throw outside the numbers. He's threw over the middle, not just outside the numbers this week. And he was in the zone. If you ask him, I'm sure he'd tell you, yeah, that was one of the best zones he's been in since he came into the NFL. He was spreading the ball around. He hit like 8 receivers, different receivers. Frymuth had 6 catches.
He loves his tight end.
I was glad to see him get involved. We got Mount Washington a couple of balls.
Yep.
Pickens, he's a deep threat. He's an 80-20 ball guy because that 50-50 turns into 80-20 or 90-10 when you throw it deep to him. He's got to rein it in a little bit. But I do feel like that second penalty, I'm glad they didn't throw him out of the game for it. That second penalty with the hand, I don't think that didn't really look like he was shooting anybody to me. I mean, I was like pointing or whatnot, but I know the NFL's coming down on that kind of stuff. Don't like it. But me personally, I don't mind the theatrics. I don't mind the boom, boom, bang, 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 I got you. I don't mind, like, let's say if it was, particularly if it goes with what your team does. If it's the Raiders or the Bucks and you get into the end zone, you're a swashbuckler, they carry swords. I don't care if you do this. If you did do the throat slash, I don't care. If you're a Cowboy, you get into the end zone and you boom, 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 boom. I don't have a problem with it. It goes with what the name of your team is. But
so what would a Steeler do? Like would he have a jackhammer? What like
jackhammer, or you just pour some molten steel on
molten steel? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Pour it on your opponent. Yeah. Absolutely.
But for me, my takeaway from this game is, for me, it answered the final question that I had and that anybody else should have had about the Steelers. We already know what the defense is, but we also know no team defense shows up and is dominant every game.
Right.
No team is. We went up against Burrow, people are looking at their record, and you're saying Burrow's not elite. But if you look at Burrow's stats on this season and what he's doing with no defense whatsoever, he's putting up elite numbers. He's over 3,000 yards already. He's got 30 touchdowns and only 5 or 4 interceptions. He is on.
Yeah, just at inopportune times, and it's not all his fault. But go ahead.
Yeah, and so we had to battle a defense that was having some issues from time to time. They were scoring. Cincinnati scored. The first one was an interception by Wilson, which I don't really look at that as an interception because they say Pickens slipped. I think it should have been PI, and it was a pick six. And you couldn't blame that on Wilson because he was throwing it right where Pickens would have been had he been on his feet. But after that, we played from behind the whole way. It's 7-0, then it's 7-7, then it's 14-7, then it's 14-14, 21-14. And in the past, those would have been games where you would have said, okay, I don't know if Pittsburgh can keep scoring.
Pull that out, right.
In the first half, 5 straight possessions we scored. And it wasn't 5 field goals. It was 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals. Second half, we came out. I thought we were going to score again, but we didn't. After the opening kickoff of the second half, but we didn't get in the end zone, and it was still iffy.
Right.
We scored and we continued to score. We had a running game that put up over 100. We had 500 yards offense. We got into a shootout and we won the shootout. We knew that everybody knows we can win games where we can't get in the end zone because we got a great kicker. Everybody knows if it's a close game, we can get just enough offense and we have a dominant defense that we can win the game. Final question was, can we come from behind? Can we win a shootout? Because we were having problems in the red zone. This game showed that we can win any kind of way that's needed. You want a slugfest, we can do it. You want a boxing match where we got a counter, we can do it. We can win any way possible with the running game, with the passing game, and with both. The defense came up big when it needed to. So I thought it was an excellent game overall because of what it showed that we could do. Now, the defense, we can't have that. Again, we can't have as many penalties from either team, really. We can't have those because those penalties in the playoffs can cost you a game. I think we're doing a great job. I think Wilson is doing a great job. I saw some people, some different commentators talking about maybe he should be up for comeback player of the year. I'm like, no, he wasn't injured, so you can't. Comeback player of the year is for guys coming off of injury. Even though you could say being in that cesspool in Denver the past 2 years was like being injured, but still, I mean, I think Wilson's doing an excellent job, and he's definitely putting himself in the market for Pittsburgh to say, look, here's a 3-year Geno Smith type contract, which I think he can probably wind up getting. So yeah, I'm pleased with what I'm seeing from the Steelers, and we still got a shot at winning overall, winning home field, because we're in third right now in the conference, but there's nothing saying that we can't run the table and wind up being first.
Well, you spoke of Burrow. Burrow gave you all 10 points.
Hey, you got to take advantage, because there have been times somebody could have given us 10 points and we not punched in those 10. We punched in those 10 this yesterday.
Because that's and the thing about that giving you 10 points is what they're saying about Burrow, even though he has the elite numbers. That game is 38-34. And that's not saying time-wise they may not have had that opportunity. But you speak of Pittsburgh's ability to get into these punch-outs, your slugfest.
Yeah, and the defense stepped up and scored the points for us also.
And I look at it like this, though, because I got to sneak this in. You all do better in your slugfest when the weather is decent. Because you had a slugfest in with Cleveland, and it was snowing. And I believe your slugfest with Dallas, it was raining.
Hey, you saw who was in there at quarterback. You saw.
What did Clarence say? So you don't play good on rainy days. But at any rate, going into this next game, and really the highlight of this game was Azeez Al-Shirr's hit. Houston against, it was an AFC South matchup. Houston versus Jacksonville. Very questionable on both sides. 50, and just as you were speaking on Pickens, celebration, sometimes your history precedes itself, or however they say it. And, sometimes, you might not be doing anything that bad, or your reputation, precedes itself. You might not be doing anything that bad, but people are watching and waiting for you. And I had that incident, and I'll bring that up later when we speak on college football. People are watching and waiting for you to do something, and it's always going to get polarized more when you do it. And we were looking at the hit on Trevor Lawrence, and it's questionable, protect yourself. Did you slide too late? But then when you look at the history of Azeez Al-Shirr and the way he came in with the elbow to ensure that Mr. Lawrence's head hit the ground to go along with the hit, it looked a little bit more like you didn't even attempt to brace yourself for the late slide by Trevor. And D'Amico Ryans, the coach for Houston, was trying to do what he could to, I won't say blame Trevor, but he was definitely trying to hold Trevor accountable. And him being a former defensive player himself, was trying to kind of look out for the defender, in regards to that. How does this person stop on breaks and brace himself? Nevertheless, the NFL has suspended Al Shahir for 3 games for the hit. And my question to you, Tank, is, was it warranted or was it excessive?
The suspension was warranted. The 3 games was excessive. But the thing is, when you see the replay and you see it from different angles and you see it in slow motion, Lawrence was already down and sliding when he launched himself. And he launched himself with his elbow up to make contact. Because you don't come in, you don't tackle or with your elbow anyway. You lead with your shoulder. He led with the elbow coming, and he clocked him right in the head, and it wasn't as though he was going for a lower strike zone, and because he slid, he wound up hitting him.
The head.
Yeah. He was already down like this, and he launched himself. He launched, and he was trying to hit him. I think it was malicious in his mind that, I'm finna take him out. No, I do think that he said, okay, I got a kill shot and I'm gonna take it, but I'm not looking at it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not looking at it as, okay, I'm gonna put him out for the game. I'm not that way, but hey, he's gonna remember this when he wakes up tomorrow. But the problem is he's had previous offenses like this. And I'll tell you exactly who he's reminding me of that
I know who you're about to say.
Burfict. Vontaze Burfict. Burfict was a headhunt. I mean, I'm aggressive. I'm this and that. Yeah, but you got to play within the scope of the framework of the rules. And I understand if Lawrence wasn't already down sliding, I can see it because we've seen quarterbacks fake slide and the defender lets up, and next thing you know, the quarterback gone for another 5 yards or so. But in this instant, he was already down sliding. He launched himself, hit him right in the forehead, and he's got a track record of doing cheap shots. And afterwards, the way he acted and the melee that ensued was why they enforced the 3.
I totally agree. I do believe melees cause a little bit more of a. I won't necessarily downsize the hit itself, but the melee does add fuel to the fire.
That's collateral damage.
Exactly, it's like collateral damage. The malice in the palace, and I'm not getting into basketball, but I do remember Captain Jack saying, "Hey, it was the end of the game," and another player was the one that told what's his face? I forgot his name. I know his name, to go and get his last foul from a game before. So it was just like a little elbow, and it's that elbow that turns into the melee, that turns into even more of a melee, which made something so, I'm gonna just rough you up a little bit, worse than what it was. So we all have to be very mindful. And I'm not against protecting your quarterback.
Yeah, me either, not at all.
But I do believe that these players already know Al Shearer's resume. Probably he was talking some noise on the field prior.
Keep your head on the swivel. Keep your head on the swivel because you know he's a headhunter.
Yeah. And you look for things like that because players know who you are, and I'm going to get you if I can. Because you're going to be out to get me. Hines Ward. Hines Ward has been known, but he made great sound technical hits, but I know you're looking to hit me, so keep
Yeah.
your head on the swivel, because if I catch you, I'm going to hit
Putting
you.
you to sleep. I'm gonna put you to sleep.
Because I know that's your intent with me. So I definitely understand, and I know these guys. Their names are in the locker room on the bulletin board. I'm going to target him because he's targeting me or us, And Burfict was another one, because he took some people out, and some people. I think he got taken out.
Juju.
Yeah, Juju
Juju
took him out.
Smith's sister took him
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
So it's just like, we know you're there, and you created that reputation for yourself.
Yeah.
And speaking of reputation, go ahead.
Yeah, and the thing that's so ironic is the guy who levied the discipline, John Runyon, was one of the dirtiest players in the league when
Right.
he was playing.
But yeah,
But
it
he's
takes a
like,
criminal. It takes a criminal to know
yeah,
criminal mind, right?
yeah. So I'd mean, like I said, the 3 games I think was excessive, but I understand why. And also, you gotta remember, the NFL is gonna do whatever it can to protect the quarterback.
Quarterback, and
Had
sometimes you
that been a
do.
running back,
Yeah,
had that been a running back giving himself up, it just would have been night. I mean, it wouldn't have been a suspension. It would have popped. It might not even been a fine because it was just that it was a quarterback sliding. He was
right.
outside the pocket, so he
Yeah,
was a runner. So it's not like he went overboard on a quarterback in the pocket. He was outside the pocket running. He was sliding. He's down like this, and he said, "Shoot, I got a kill shot," or as Maverick be saying in Top Gun, "I got tone. I got tone.
I
I'm
got tone.
firing."
Exactly.
Yeah, but hopefully he'll learn. He'll learn and he'll rein it in some.
And sometimes I think those 3 games, the money you lose behind those games and the
Yeah,
fines, it didn't do it for Burfict, but sometimes it'll kind of make you a little bit more cautious of what you're
yeah,
doing.
and I think Also, one more thing before you go, and not just the money, but the way you affect these guys even more so than taking the money, taking them off the field. They want to be on the field playing. I mean, you taking my money, but I'm going to say, but man, I want to play. I want to play. I want to get on the field. And a big game also, hey, and you not on there, and you feel as though you're letting your team down because you're not out there, and it's not because you're injured.
Yeah, your body, you're mentally on a clock. Saturday I'm
Mm.
in game mode, and I'm not playing the next day or whenever the game is. So yeah, that's definitely something that you take away from them, and they have to think about that moving forward. And speaking of a situation where you are being looked at and people are, in a sense, looking at your reputation preceding itself, I'm gonna segue into college. Jacoby George, you have had games where you've costed your team a 15-yard penalty, maybe 2 or 3 occasions earlier in the year, and then this last game, just it got a little chippy down there, but you got to control yourself. And the referees, the umpire was definitely looking at you, and it was a go ahead score situation, and you brought Miami back 15 yards. And not only did you do that, they had to settle for a 3-pointer, and now they're on the outside looking in of a shakeup in the college football playoff weekend. And that's really what I was getting at. Miami's lost to Syracuse. Shout out to Syracuse. Miami was up 21-0. Still no excuse. But now they're finding themselves in the first of the 4 teams out. Outside looking in, you've allowed Clemson to get into that ACC championship, looking like SMU can take that. And
I
then
like what Clemson's coach. I like what Syracuse coach said at the end of the game. He said, "Hey, Dabo, I did that for you. I got you in there."
I did that for you. I got you in there.
Yeah,
Orange sticking up for orange.
yeah,
And then when you have that, and this is not about Miami per se, but when you have those situations, you have to kind of inform your players of what's at stake. Not just the game, but you are in a conference that is not going to be respected. So you have to get your W's. We've allowed you to play with this ranky-dank defense all year long, and you pulled out your wins. We're going to give Georgia Tech its respect, for beating FSU early, and they weren't a losing team, they just weren't a ranked team.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll give you that one loss and kind of leave you in there. But 2 puts you down. I'm going to go back to FSU last year when it was fourth playoff. You're on the outside looking in, and you have to inform your teams and your players. We're in conferences that are not going to get the respect for 2 losses.
Mm-hmm.
We're in conference because remember, Florida State didn't get respect for an undefeated season. So when you see Georgia with 3, or the Alabama with 3 losses, Alabama with 3 losses jump ahead of you. And then the teams who wouldn't get respect, like Arizona State, they're doing their due diligence and winning games. Indiana, Boise State, it's regards to the competition. We're gonna respect that 0. But in the SEC, their 0 can be as many as 3 and 4 if you lose the game late enough. So you have to really be mindful of especially in November, of small little penalties that could take you out of these college football playoffs. Because we're in an era now, and I'm not going to get into that conversation. That's another conversation. But we're in an era now, if you're not playing for anything postseason in college, these NIL guys and guys who know they're going to go first round, I'm not playing in the bowl game. That's my last game. So, that's my take on college, for the weekend. But no, it was some great games, because I do have to point out the Heisman game Travis Hunter had, and I don't even want to take away from the quarterback. I don't know what the quarterback of the year award is in college, but
O'Brien, David O'Brien Award,
yeah, Shador. Hey, Coach Prime said, I'm gonna leave my players out there, and I'm going to show you what we can do, even with lesser competition. I'm going to get up 21-zip and not let you back in. And those boys put on a show, 1 interception, and Travis didn't even have the most yards, for their receiving corps. So they played a great game. Unfortunately, they didn't get the 2 losses that they needed to get into the Big 12 game. But
I gotta give a shout out to Prime also for showing that hey, I remember he used to say it when in his last 2 years in the league, he would say it, and I like it. He would say, "Hey, I might not be as great as I once was, but once I'm as great as I ever was." And he showed that, but on the pregame when it was senior day, when he walked out with Shador and Shiloh and his ex-wife Pilar, she came out of the stands, and they were going to all 4 of them were supposed to meet and walk down.
Oh, yeah.
And Prime saw that, and he ain't got but 8.5 toes now.
But boy, he darted out.
We saw that 4-2. We saw that 4-2 one more time.
We did definitely see that 4-2. And
Shout out
a lot of people tried to say he shot out that quickly to go get back in line to walk out Jimmy Horn Jr. Shout out to Prime for walking out his other son, Jimmy Horn Jr. And if you all don't know the history, his father,
and
Jimmy
protecting
Horn,
your peace.
Yeah, his father, Jimmy Horn Sr., is serving a bid in prison for I forgot, I don't even know what the situation was, but anyway, Prime is taking him on his wing as well, just like Travis, and he walked him out. But the thing about that excuse was, no, Prime darted out because he didn't want to be there, because Jimmy Horn and Prime walked out before Shador and Shiloh. So Prime got out of Dodge. From Pilar. Real quick.
Yeah. And also another game that really hey, you deserve to lose this game. Georgia Tech, you deserve to lose that game
Oh my!
against Georgia because you had it. You had the game in the bag. Next thing you know, we're in 8 unnecessary overtimes
8
and you
unnecessary
lose
overtimes.
because you had the lead going into the last few minutes of the game, last few minutes of the quarter, and you pissed down your leg and let that Georgia come in and take over. I mean, you got no. I'm not gonna say it like that because I hate when people do it because it's not accurate. They didn't let Georgia take over. Georgia
Georgia
snatched it.
took over. Yes, they
Yeah,
took the game.
Georgia took over. I'm not gonna Tech, you deserve to lose the game because of what you did and didn't do. And Georgia, you deserve to win because of what you did do. You stepped up, whereas Tech stepped down and got ran over, literally. And I mean,
This is a rivalry game. This,
yeah, good
this
old
is a
fashioned hate.
rivalry game that it looks like you all let your big brother win because that's your big brother, and you want to make sure that they in there. No, take him out. You take him out the same way you took out Miami.
Yeah,
You know,
the
and and,
same
and, and,
thing
and
you were doing.
yeah, and I'm so sick of all this. I'm so sick of all this traditional respect because I didn't really care for Sarkeesian telling the players at the Texas A&M game, don't
Mm-hmm.
put your flag in the middle of the field. You got to let them kids be kids. That's tradition.
Yeah, yeah. Glad you mentioned that. All these melees and about all these fights going on because they didn't want to look in war. Once you win, once you've taken over, you've captured your enemy. What do? You take your flag and you stake it down because this is ours now.
This is ours now.
We've taken your land. We've taken dominion over this, and your flag. If you look up the Greek, I don't want to go too deep. But if you look up the Greek meaning of flag, it means standard. The original meaning of flag is standard. So your flag represents your standard. And Michigan, Ohio
Michigan,
State,
Ohio, right, right.
Michigan, you put your standard down. You were
You put
trying to
your
put it down
standard
in the
down on
middle of Ohio
Ohio,
State.
and they
And
didn't like it because they want to fight too.
yeah, all these schools want to fight because the other team comes in and puts their flag down. It's tradition, and hey, if you don't want them to put the flag down, beat them. Win the
Exactly.
game. You got 60 minutes. Instead, you getting mad because Thor comes in and puts the hammer down.
Exactly.
You should have done better. I
Shout
mean,
out,
I don't have
shout
a
out,
problem with it.
shout out to the University of Florida who put the hammer down early on Florida State though. Like they didn't have any
Yeah,
time.
they did. Yeah, they did. I
That was
mean,
that
I
was
think
just
it's
like
great when they do that.
you just lost so many recruits. That was definitely something. That was definitely sad. That was sad to see. That was very sad to see. And we definitely have to figure out how to allow ourselves. Excuse me. Allow ourselves. And I understand. We're coaching. We want to have discipline. We want to have respect. We want to show respect. We want to give respect. We want to earn respect. But it was Thanksgiving rivalry weekend. And during Thanksgiving rivalry weekend, we all must allow these kids to be kids. This is something that we speak of all week. Probably starts at the beginning of the year. You put it when you see it on the schedule, even though you know it happens at the same time every year, you go in knowing I don't care if we have not won a game all season. Rivalry weekend, State, Auburn, Alabama, all of these, Georgia Tech, Michigan, Ohio State, Texas A&M. All of these games mean so much to these kids. So I do definitely believe we gotta within a manner of sportsmanship, let tradition be tradition. There is nothing wrong with it at all. Absolutely. And remember, ladies, for all of your comfort and round the house wear, lingerie, comfy clothes, make sure you visit quickvisits.com. That's QUIKVISITS.com. For all of your lounge wear, lingerie wear, sport wear, workout wear, athletic wear, make sure you go to quickvisits.com. They'll be there for you, and you'll love that, I tell you. And all right, and moving along, kind of going back into college football and a little bit of NFL if you want to, slide into two. But my question is, should 2,000 yards rushing, I may even ask, but mostly rushing because Barry Sanders has this thing, but should 2,000 yards rushing be gaining 2,000 yards rushing, I should say? Should that be considered enough to solidify the Heisman Trophy in college football?
I think that if you put up 2,000, especially if you blow by 2,000, but I mean, if you say even just putting it up is a heck of an accomplishment. But and then if you blow by it, like Barry's got the all-time record, 2,600 yards. But I think that should put you as a front runner because 2,000 yards in whatever division, whatever league you're playing, that's a whole lot of darn running. And remember, in college, you put up 2,000, you're doing it in 11 games. You're not even doing it in 16 or 17.
Yeah.
So
they do
I
count the
think,
conference championship, right?
yeah, they count.
They
They count
count towards your
everything
yards, but yeah, you
and the
still
bowl
doing it.
games. But just up until over you hit 2,000 up until the voting, you've already got 2,000.
Pretty much.
I mean, there's been a number of backs who's hit 2,000 and didn't get any consideration or didn't win it. Byron Hanspard at Texas Tech back in the early 2000s. What's his name? Matt Forte put up 2,000 yards from Tulane. He didn't get it. Troy Davis from Iowa State back in the early 2000s, who went on to play with the Saints. Hanspard played with the Falcons till he blew his knee out. He put up 2,000. So I don't think that 2,000 by the voters is considered something that, oh man, put them in the running, unless it's against unless you're playing in a major conference or major school does it. Because I think that's going to be the knock against Ginty. But I think 2,000 should be enough, and it should put you as a front runner. Certain stats that you reach in college at different positions should put you in as a front runner or in the top three. It should always get you invited to the New York Athletic Club, in my opinion.
I would probably have to go back and look at who was against Barry Sanders when he did it, right? That was 88.
88.
We had Andre Ware was 89, and we know he
Andre
won
Ware
it.
came the next year, yeah.
Who was against him in 88? Was it Tim Brown? No, Tim Brown won it.
Tim Brown won it in 87. And I just think that it's a phenomenal task, man. It's a phenomenal feat. You should automatically be going to New York.
Yeah, you should automatically go to New York. And the thing, I'm a context guy. And the thing about Rodney Peete, Troy Aikman, Steve Walsh, Major Harris.
Yeah. Yeah, he was truly better than all of them.
Tony Mandarich.
Yeah.
Deion Sanders. Anthony Thompson had a great year running.
Yeah.
Derrick Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
So those names and those classes itself are elite. And I wanted to bring that up because the context of Barry, he possibly would have lost that year if he was just running. But Barry's excitement was also the year prior to, and him kick return, punt return to go with that running. So this kind of made him this all around. If you put me on the field, I'm going to electrify. So that
Yeah,
placed him
the way he
above.
got it, the way he
It was
got
the
the
way he got
2,000.
it because his all-purpose yards were a phenomenal, crazy
Yeah.
number as well. So his feats, when you start looking at names, because he's number 1 draft pick, Tony Mandarich, offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
We all know what Deion Sanders was. Rodney Peete coming from USC, he had accolades. Troy Aikman, we all know what he became. So he's in line with at least him himself, 1, 2, 3 Hall of Famers, NFL.
Yeah. Well, 4. Derrick Thomas.
Exactly. So Derrick Thomas, exactly. And a perennial all-pro while he was, he probably was the one made the first impact of that class. But I'm not getting into that class. Yet he, outside of what Ginty's doing, his feats that year, I'm not gonna say they're forgotten about, but the way they gave him the ball made you say he's just better than these other guys who were having phenomenal seasons.
Yeah, and also the fact Barry set, it was either 26 or 35 NCAA records that year as well. So
Right.
so your 2000 does need to have some records involved also.
It needs
Otherwise,
to have some things,
yeah,
and that's why I say 2000. When you're in a certain division, and this kind of gets back to a level of the CFP voting. But I think 2000, to answer your question from my perspective, 2000 in the SEC, that's all you need. 2000 in the Big Ten, that's all you need. And when you get into those easier divisions, or the ones that they're going to consider a lesser class of defenses competition, you better have that 2000 with some bells and whistles on. You better
yeah,
you better break some records. It better look like, okay, what you did, you might not have gotten 2000 in the SEC, but I'm almost certain you would have got 1815. You got 1800.
yeah, and we never had a 2,000-yard rusher in the SEC.
So it's almost like, and to me personally, I believe, going back further, I believe Archie Griffin was the one who put Big Ten on the map, as us really kind of looking that they had those backs, because the Pac-10 and the Southern backs were the backs. So if it's going to be 2000, it needs to be the division that you're in, or conference, I should say. And if not, you better dress it up mightily fine, because
Yeah,
even in this instance, I go back and wonder if Bobby Bowden would have played, because Prime was up. Excuse me, Prime was up for the Heisman as a DB because of the kick return, punt return.
yeah,
And it was an argument of who was the best that year between him and Barry. So it's like Barry had to compete with him. If GT, and I'm not going to say he doesn't, but Travis Hunter didn't do punt return, kick return. But Deion has always said, if I put him back there, he's going to excite
yeah.
you. Him with the ball is just something different. I don't think GT would have been any different. It's just, in this instance, is his 2,000 yards excitement alone greater, because it's solidified and guaranteed the win that I'm kind of dealing with? Is it greater than what Travis has done as looking like the most exciting player?
I think the fact that he's done the 2,000 and the fact that everybody knows he's getting the ball and he's still excelling is what makes his 2,000 special. Not that 2,000 isn't special in itself. And as far as the comparison of saying him or Hunter, if Hunter was only playing one side of the ball, I don't think he would be in consideration. I think the fact that he's going both ways, he's playing in essence 2 games every week, and he's playing well. I think that's why he's in it. He's in it. I don't think that he would be considered good enough as a receiver or as a DB, as a corner, to be in Heisman consideration.
You mean alone?
Right. If that's all he was doing.
Oh no.
Because what makes
Most definitely.
Yeah, because what makes him special, not saying that he doesn't excel at either position, because he does, but what makes him special and unique is the fact that he's playing both ways. And he's, like I said, he's playing 2 games at once.
Do you think he can do you think he could be a finalist at one position? Like in a sense, like, Charles Woodson. Well, Charles Woodson was doing kick returns and punt returns. But
yeah.
do you think he could Derrick Thomas his way into Hugh Green? Hugh Green was another one.
Hugh Green was I don't think that he would make it as a receiver. Heisman, especially if you look at his stats compared to what we've seen Biletnikoff Award winners win. The numbers they put up. Like, you look at numbers of Crabtree, Dez, what's the other guy? Troy Edwards. And you look at these other guys who won the Biletnikoff Award, and then you look at Travis's numbers. His numbers pale in comparison. So I don't think he would be a Heisman candidate if he was just a receiver. And as a DB, he didn't get nominated for the Jim Thorpe Award, which Dion, went off about.
Right.
And I can understand why he didn't get nominated, and especially when a lot of the voters, they just look at your stats. And before last week, man, he ain't got but 3 interceptions. How good can he be? That's how they're looking at. And
I see this though. That what you're saying would not have happened. He's too electrifying. And what I mean by that is, you would have Desmond Howard him if he was on one side of the ball, whichever side of the ball. You would have Charles Woodson him if he's just that electrifying of an athlete. If he only concentrates on one side of the ball, you're going to punt return, kick return him. Like, he's not just going to play.
Mm-hmm.
I believe.
So you're saying he would be on special teams if he was only playing one side?
He would definitely, like, the only person who, the only wide receiver I think almost broke that theory was Randy Moss. And
yeah, and you saw what Randy did, and he was playing at a small school.
You saw Randy did.
Yeah, and he's playing at a small school.
I think it's almost a guarantee. You would have to, like even Prime himself playing DB. You would have, and Charles Woodson, you have to, Desmond Howard, Tim Brown, you kind of have to give them that special teams.
Yeah, he would be playing special teams, yeah.
Because I highly doubt they would take. He is an offensive weapon, even on defense, and an offensive weapon can be utilized on special teams. So to me, kind of going out of context a little bit, the defender, when you start getting up there like Hugh Green and Derrick Thomas did, you're stopping so much offense. Like Prime, I don't think Prime as a defender was in the Heisman race because of the DB. He was just so great a DB. It was because of the kick return, punt return, and the DB.
Yeah.
But Derrick Thomas, Hugh Green, you guys are always at the quarterbacks. A DB doesn't have that opportunity to get that many interceptions or whatever to even obtain that level of. You got to be a most exciting player. So it's something. The dynamic of how you look at it is quite. Shout out to Hugh Green. Shout out to Hugh Green and Derrick Thomas, because they must have been doing some exciting work.
Yeah, he was a bad man at Pittsburgh.
He was a bad man. He was a bad man. He was a and just a side note, that Hugh Green is the guy for whom I actually liken Micah Parsons to. He's not the LT is who you know. He's not even Derrick Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Parsons is more Hugh Green, and if anyone has ever seen Hugh Green play for Pittsburgh, for Pitt, and on to the Bucks in Miami, comparing Michael Parsons to him is in no way taking anything away from Michael Parsons. Hugh Green was a bad man. He was a bad man. But at any rate,
Yes. Yeah,
you had one more last thing you would say? Okay.
Yeah, but I think as far as Heisman goes, I think that more than likely it almost seems like if Travis doesn't get it, there's gonna be backlash. Dion is gonna go off and act crazy because how could he not get the Heisman? How could he not get the Heisman? And Shador has put himself back in that race as well. I mean, he's put himself back in that race, but me personally, because my love for running backs, I would like to see Genty get it because I am tired of seeing. And if Travis got it, that would be great also. Because I am tired of seeing quarterbacks get it because certain awards have just turned into quarterback awards. And
they always have the ball.
Yeah. And Genty, for what he's done, and everyone knows that he's getting the ball. And unless you're a college football junkie or a Boise State fan, I challenge anybody to name three other players on that Boise State team.
Currently.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's another side of the CFP. But shout out to Shador, because I do believe Shador was kind of double overshadowed this year for his Heisman candidacy, because schools normally promote one guy, and that's because they usually have one guy. I think the last time I saw a two-guy instance was Tim Tebow.
USC. Tebow.
Yep. You had
USC.
Reggie Bush. You had Reggie
and
Bush
Lindell.
and
Reggie,
Liner.
Lindell, and Liner. Yeah.
And Liner. And then at Florida there was Tim Tebow and
Percy.
And Percy Harvin.
Percy.
And a lot of people believe that Percy was the machine that ran that offense to make Tebow look that much better amongst a whole lot of athletes. So and I think this is the first time I've ever seen the quarterback himself get overshadowed by the electrifying position player. Now, I said a double overshadow because Cam Ward was carrying the number one offense, and he had those numbers. And so it made you say, well, he's not even the best quarterback in college football, and we got a star on his team. So shout out to Shador for maintaining his numbers and keeping himself, humble, I should say, as he moved along and he let his guy, ride that shine. But going off your point, I do believe we are in the age of what we do. A whole lot of media, a lot of people have their own platform, and the Travis noise got a little louder than it would 20 years ago for those feats. And it's almost like a travesty not to give it to him because he has so much promotion behind him. I think just my own personal opinion, because I don't mind if Jinty does get it, but I think college football needs to give it to Travis, because it's just that it's been a long time since Charles.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since Tim, So let's break it up a little bit, because we know we're going to have a running back or 4 or 5 come again. We know we're going to have some quarterbacks. It's going to be a long time before we see these guys again. So when we do get an opportunity to see these guys, let's solidify that prowess in the Heisman house, as legendary. and then let GT go on and kind of get his legendary status, in the NFL or one of the great running back seasons, ever and all that stuff. So I kind of see it from that marketing standpoint. But at any rate, it was actually a rivalry weekend. And we spoke on rivalry weekend earlier, and I'm not going to get into the teams because I kind of brushed upon it earlier, but I did want to know from what you see. And it doesn't have to actually happen on Thanksgiving weekend. What is the greatest rivalry in college football to you?
Some have lost their luster. Some have gone. Some have just gone bye-bye because of all this, because they've broken teams or left conferences. But for me, the one that I've looked forward to for years was Florida and Georgia. Always look forward to that one. Some others that used to be, and right now Florida and Georgia used to be, but I think right now the top rivalry, the top one right now, and it's not going well for one side right now. Ohio State and Michigan. That's always a big one.
They'll fight.
Yeah. Auburn and Alabama has lost its luster because Auburn hasn't, been a real threat since Cam left.
Right.
Yeah, but for me, it's Florida and Georgia. But then there's others that has gone, but some stuff is just from yesteryear and just a tradition. One that I wish they still had, and then I'll let you go. I wish they still had Oklahoma and Nebraska. That's why I hate all this jumping around and stuff. Because Oklahoma and Nebraska used to be must-see TV.
Yeah,
regardless.
And Oklahoma, Nebraska used to determine
a
bowl game, like who's going to play in that national championship. Absolutely. And it cycles through because as you were speaking on yours, and I'm not going to be long-winded here, as you were speaking on yours, I compared it to North Carolina and Duke in basketball. They seem to never cycle out of the consistency of the competition like football does.
Yeah.
Because FSU and Miami cycled itself in and cycled itself out. USC, Notre Dame.
But it was a great one when it was going, boy.
It was great when it was going. And
that one in Notre Dame and Miami. Yeah.
Notre Dame, USC. Ohio State, Michigan just kind of came back alive, the coaching and everything, but it cycled itself out. But my greatest rivalry football, you know what I'm about to do? My greatest rivalry in college football is because it has something else that's a rivalry at the game too. A lot of people aren't going to agree with this, but you're going to understand when I say what I say. FAMU and Bethune-Cookman. FAMU and Bethune-Cookman, because it don't stop. They don't stop fighting at halftime. They don't stop fighting at halftime. All of you Southern Grambling people, whatever. But at the Florida Classic, FAMU was going through some little things, financially this year, and Bethune Band spelled out "scam you." Now, if that doesn't tell you that, if that doesn't tell you, that's some nasty work. We talking about alumni.
Yeah.
And it was so wrong because it made it to that level of social media, but it was so wrong because the FAMU people was like, alumni was like, man, they got us. Like it wasn't like black people.
I like it.
Doing that to you, but it was like, man, they got us.
I like it.
So for me, and I know it's some better football out there, and I don't want to get into that. But for me, I'm going to say FAMU versus the Bethune-Cookman University Wildcats, because you getting some football for 4 quarters, and halftime you getting some battle In the stands, you getting a battle. Like, it's a battle the whole time. They are just going. It does not stop. Non-stop battle. So that would be my one. I'm just going to put that one out.
Yeah. And one more just for old time's sake, that when they play today, it just doesn't have the same thing. It's just two teams. It's two private schools playing. But back when it was convicts versus Catholics,
Oh,
Miami and Notre Dame, oh my goodness, man. That was some dirty stuff that
you
boy.
gotta have
You couldn't.
you gotta have the right person announcing that game.
Yeah, I used to love to see those two play. I
And they
hate
may
Miami
meet in the
anyway.
bowl this year. They may meet in the bowl this year.
Yeah, but it just won't be the same.
No, it won't be the same.
It
Because,
won't be the same.
it's clean. They might bring up that old lore and that luster, but nah, because it was really like, y'all really calling yourselves?
Yeah. The
Y'all
convicts
really
versus the Catholics.
That was some nasty work.
Yeah.
That was some nasty work. Now, moving on. So I guess that's the rivalry you miss the most.
That's the one I miss the most.
That's the one you miss. And for me, man, I that Oklahoma Nebraska one was I do miss that one. I miss that one. But I miss what Florida State and Miami was. I really like head hunting at its finest.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive battles. We know who y'all got on offense. But we taking somebody head off. And it was war.
Yeah.
And that might not be the same today because
Florida State sucks.
Florida State sucks, and all the kids would get kicked out for targeting.
Yeah.
Like they were targeting in the first quarter. What they consider targeting today. Back then, that was, please keep your head on the swivel because we coming. Oh, you gonna take my man out? I'm gonna take yours. Like, next series.
Yeah, and they were so intense.
It was so intense.
Florida State going and recruiting a top flight kicker just for that game. And he still missed. He still went wide left and wide right.
Let's talk about the wide left, wide right. Exactly, man. Exactly. But at any rate, moving on, back to the NFL. Speaking of USC, and if you really want to say Ohio State, because they got rid of OSU guy for a USC guy. So my question to you, Tank, is will the Bears, moving along next year with this drama that they still have, still be the Bears next season?
You want long answer, or you want the short, the direct? Directly, yes, because I just don't think the Bears history shows that they have no idea of what to do with quarterbacks. The fact that franchise is almost 100 years old, it's 100 and something years old, and their leading passer was 27,000 yards, is Sid Luckman. Luckman played in the 50s and 60s. 50s, 60s. And he's still their leading passer. And you look at their wide receiver, they don't have a wide receiver. Their leading wide receiver compared to leading wide receivers in other franchises is at the bottom of the barrel because they don't have quarterbacks, so they don't have receivers. There's just some things that they just don't do well. They, for whatever reason, they generally have a good defense or respectable defense, but offensively, they can't get it right. They're like in the guy in Life, Bokeem Woodbine, can't get right. They can't get right when it comes to quarterback.
Right.
They've had quarterbacks who had decent talent and or ability, but it's never worked out for them. They've never had. To this day, they still yet to have a 4,000-yard passer. Teams throw the ball 7, 8 times out of 10 these days. And you trying to tell me you can't get a quarterback to fling his way to 4,000 yards? Jameis has thrown for 5,000. You trying to tell me you couldn't once get it? They had, what's his name, Cutler. Cutler would sling it, but he didn't even do it. So yeah, I think the Bears are gonna be the same old Bears. I don't think they're gonna get the coaching change right. I don't think they're gonna get the offensive coordinator hiring right. They're not gonna get the quarterback coach hiring right. They're gonna probably in 3 or 4 years, they're gonna be shuffling Caleb out and trying to get another one. Think about it. They drafted a few years ago, they drafted Trubisky, overdrafted him anyway. They drafted him in the first round. He was out there in 4 years. They got Fields. He's gone in 4 years. Caleb, don't buy a house in Chicago because you're gonna be gone too. Because, maybe he can get that same condo that Keith and Thelma got in good times when he got that $60,000 free agent contract to go play for the Bears on the south on the south side, I believe, on the north side. When he got the condo. Maybe that's what he needs to do. But I would not invest in getting a house in Chicago if I was Caleb, because odds are he's gonna be gone. I don't have any faith in the Bears organization. You hear me? I mentioned teams having DNA. Their DNA is we don't know what to do or how to do anything with quarterbacks or with the passing game.
I gotta cut in because you touching some points that I was gonna touch, and I want your post-it notes because you touching them, and I want to say this. I want to say this right quick. I never thought the Chicago Bears would become the Chicago Cubs, and you bring up Sid Luckman. I don't mind Sid Luckman being the one that broke that record all those years ago, because and you bring up DNA, and I believe sometimes we get caught up in these. It's a new era. It's a new NFL, etc. Sometimes I believe certain franchises just don't and aren't supposed to go too far outside of their DNA, regardless of what the era in the new game allows them. Shout out to Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley for doing what they were doing, and this is why I'm saying what I'm saying. When you think of the Bears, you can give me 5, but really 3. When you think of the Bears as an organization, history, what names do you think of?
Butkus, Payton, and Singletary.
There we go. So I could have easily said and added to that Richard Dent, Refrigerator Perry, my man out of Florida that came, Matt Forte.
Oh, Forte, yeah.
Matt Forte. I could have said running back out of Florida that came after Peyton left.
Neil Anderson.
So my point is this: when you really think of those guys, and you probably do a list of the greatest Bears, you're not gonna find wide receivers on that list. You're not gonna find quarterbacks on that list, and so that's what I mean. Some teams, Caleb Williams never should have been the number 1 pick. You should have been looking for a running back. That's your DNA. You should have been looking for a prolific defender and build your defense around them. That's your DNA. And you go get you a game managing quarterback to give the ball to your all-star running back. I know the game has changed, but guess what? In November, in December, when what works for you, it's going to be running that ball and playing defense. I think the Bears' issues recently is they're playing outside of who they are as a franchise. Certain things, it's just who you are. I believe if they found a GM that can get back to, and it may be boring football, but it'll be winning football. I think you figure out a way to get 46-10 on a bad team. It's when they got out of that structure and they didn't concentrate on who the running back really is, and you build you a front line, the Bears are going to still be the current Bears. Just my opinion.
Yeah. And somebody in the little footnote on the Bears. This is probably be the first time in history. I want to say his last name is Thompson, but the interim head coach right now. Think about it. He started off. What was he? The quarterback's coach. I think.
Yep.
They fired the head coach. They fired the coordinator, offensive coordinator. He gets promoted this season up to the offensive coordinator. So he's calling the plays now. Okay, that's nice. I went from quarterback coach to offensive coordinator. A couple weeks later, they fire Eberflus. We're gonna move you on up. We're gonna give you another promotion. Now you're gonna be the head interim coach. Okay, that's great. Okay, I'm the interim head coach now. Okay, he's gonna be the first coach to get 2 promotions in one season and get fired after the season's over, because he's not gonna get that head coaching job. Or, and I was talking with a friend of mine. He said, "No, he's not getting fired." I said, "Well, he ain't gonna be back." He said, "No." He said, "He's not getting fired. He's gonna be let go."
You've been let go.
Yeah, and so he's gonna be somewhere else next year. I do not see him getting their head coaching job. I think Chicago needs, like you said, they need to go and they need to go and get somebody who's going to say, "Hey, look, let's get back to what the Bears' history has been." And because they looking at their running back having a field day the past 2 years with the Lions because they decided they weren't going to keep Montgomery.
They weren't going to keep Montgomery. Like you get too, and I'm gonna let this go. Sometimes you just get too caught up in what people are telling you the sport is, But at any rate, speaking of the same sport, the NFL has been tinkering around with the idea of turning it into boxing or making the Super Bowl pay-per-view. So my question to you is, do you believe that, or no, not do you believe? I mean, you can say, do you believe people will pay for it? But I just want to ask you personally, would you pay for the Super Bowl pay-per-view 49 package?
Man, I think they probably charge $99.99 or $100 some bucks for it. I want to say no, but I would. But we probably have a Super Bowl party and everybody put in on it. But it'll be one of those things where I'm gonna pay for it, but I ain't gonna like it. And they know it. They know the diehard football fans are junkies, and they're gonna watch. That's why you have some people paying $700 and some dollars a month for all the services so that they can watch every game. Think of it. You got the Sunday ticket.
Sunday ticket.
So you paying for that, and you have to not only pay for that, but you got to pay for YouTube TV so you can watch the Sunday ticket.
You can watch the Sunday ticket.
Yeah,
you got your Prime. It's a lot.
You got to pay for Prime so you can watch the games on Thursday. You got to pay. If you got NBC, you don't have to worry about paying for Peacock, but some people don't have it, so they got to pay for Peacock to watch the games on Sunday nights. You got Paramount Plus, so you can watch games. This Christmas, Pittsburgh and KC, it's gonna be on Paramount Plus. It's gonna be on Netflix, and it's gonna be on another streaming service. It's freaking Christmas. You trying to tell me I can't just turn on and on Wednesday? Think about it. Christmas is on a Wednesday. Why are we playing NFL football on Wednesday?
Because we want to compete with the NBA on Christmas.
Yeah. Not Sunday.
Who's going to allow us to watch it for free?
Yeah. I mean, but you got to be.
They can't charge anybody anyway at this point, though.
Yeah, but you got to pay for it to watch, though. If you don't have any of those services, you got to pay NFL Plus. That's the third one. Those are the 3 ways you can watch it. And you got to subscribe and maybe get the trial 7-day package just to watch that game. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I would go in. I would get some people to go in with me to watch it. And especially if my team is playing in the Super Bowl, I got no choice but to come up off of $50, $100, $150, or $200 just so I can see my team play and win. So, I mean, I hope it doesn't get to that. But the NFL is a cash cow. People are gonna pay for it. That's why the salary cap goes up. That's why you see these salaries going up. Because people will pay to watch football. Because still and all, it's the shortest professional season of the Big Four, and every game matters. So you got to watch. And there's no series for the NFL for the Super Bowl. Just that one game. So we're gonna do it.
What I fear is the same thing that I'll probably love about the pay-per-view. Who do we have? We have Pittsburgh, Green Bay, Dallas. Pittsburgh, Green Bay, Dallas. Chicago has a fan base. Maybe the Raiders.
Oh, okay.
Maybe the Raiders. Maybe the Raiders. But in order to really pay for that, because what it is the Super Bowl itself is fandom. The event of the Super Bowl is fandom, and they know there's a very large percentage of core, pure fans who really watch Super Bowl for the competitiveness, and they have been having some competitive games over the years. The blowouts kind of stop, but the issue is every fandom is not going to be. Fandom is willing to watch the Super Bowl at a party.
Right.
Fandom is not willing to pay a friend to come watch the Super Bowl at a party, though.
Mm-hmm.
And that friend better have that game on because he wants people at his house. So you're going to find yourself manipulating the games to make sure your Dallas's, Pittsburgh, Green Bay, Chicago's give you that money for pay-per-view. You know, these are marquee. You're going to find yourself in that situation because those smaller markets and this parity that you're looking for, I don't think you can afford pay-per-view with that. You know, I don't think Tampa Bay and Kansas City in the Super Bowl is going to generate the audience to say, I'll do that pay-per-view. I don't think it does.
Yeah.
You need to keep it free.
Yeah, because think about it. If they went that route and we get Jacksonville and Phoenix,
Come on now.
it's gonna be 5 of their fans and 5 fans from each side watching and going. And certain matchups just don't have any kind of appeal.
Certain matchups, you're going to find yourself manipulating the game to pay for the game. But the second part of that is the trickle down. If you're gonna make me pay for the Super Bowl, what are you gonna make me do for the division, for the conference championships? You're gonna probably try to be greedy. You might let me. You might tease me with the playoffs, and then hit me with the conference championships for $49.99, and then the Super Bowl for $149.99. And see, I don't want you doing that to me.
Yeah, I don't.
That's not good because Jacksonville and Arizona might be in the conference championship game, and you get your money because they playing Pittsburgh and Dallas. Okay, so if we don't get the money for the Super Bowl and both of them end up in there, we hit you for the 50 2 weeks or a week before. So I don't like the trickle down possibility of that. They get massively greedy, man. I'm not with it.
I don't want that at all. I don't, because you get either hardcore fans who will do it or won't do it. The hardcore fans will probably do it because, hey, I gotta watch the Super Bowl. But like you said, the ones who they come to the Super Bowl party because it's the Super Bowl, shoot.
They're gonna wear a New Jersey. They're gonna wear a New Jersey of whoever they like who winning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they would be like, hey, well, shoot, I don't really like football no way. I just like to go to the Super Bowl party.
Pass me them wings.
Yeah.
Y'all out of
So
wings?
I ain't finna pay. I ain't paying. I don't want to do it then.
Exactly.
We got to pay. So
exactly.
Yeah, I hope they don't get to that route. Go that route.
And speaking of routes, we have 2 teams that are going to be going up north to the suburbs because they are in plans on building new stadiums. and that is the Buffalo Bills and the Cleveland Browns. A lot of Cleveland Brown fans are upset because the centralized location of the Cleveland Brown Stadium, where it's currently now, as it's Legion Energy, whatever field it is going to be taken away from them, and it's going. I think what they're doing, they're pulling what San Francisco pulled. Yeah. And so a lot of the fans, $2 billion stadium in Buffalo.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot. And being a Dallas fan, I think Jerry is about 7 years away from saying, okay, now I'm obsolete. It's time to go again or renovate, so because he always wants to keep his top of the line, but it's not about him. But that's a lot of money. What do you think about those new stadiums?
It's amazing to me that the city of Buffalo is not willing to pay for it, but they've got the money and the backing in order to fund that. Because Buffalo is a small market. That's like Green Bay saying, "Hey, we finna build a $3 billion stadium." They got 100,000 people that live in the city. You got to keep up, and there's money to be made with those stadiums. Because the thing about those stadiums that a lot of people don't think about is that stadium is not just for your football team to play in. That stadium houses concerts. That stadium houses other sporting events. The stadium is being used year round, so it's not just it's a football stadium and that's all that's going to be done there. Here in Vegas, the Allegiant Stadium is used not just by the Raiders but also by UNLV, and there's concerts there. It's not just those stadiums. No, they do a lot. They do bring in revenue, but before the revenue comes in, you got to figure out some way to pay them. I don't know.
Annually.
I don't know about Cleveland if that stadium is going to be domed or retractable or not.
The renders are covered, and that was a great question because I was going to bring up Buffalo. You brought up Green Bay too. Are these teams that have an advantage when they don't dome, but do they put themselves at a disadvantage when they don't dome because of the convention center that they're going to be putting up next to these stadiums and the hotels they're going to be putting up next to these stadiums? Because we're talking about, just like you said, September through January is what it is. Then you still have January through August, tourist season. So, do you take yourself out of the equation when you don't dome your stadium now?
For Green Bay and for Buffalo, I don't think you do, because let me know if you've been or if you know anybody who's been to Green Bay. We're throwing Green Bay in because of the weather and all of that.
Right.
But who's been, if you have, or do you know anybody who's been to Green Bay or Buffalo and it wasn't football related? Those aren't tourist destinations. If I go to Green Bay, I'm going because I want to see Lambeau Field. I'm going because I want to
bucket list.
I'm going because I want to see Titletown. I'm not going because, oh man, that's a vacation destination.
Sometimes Lambeau Field in the snow is the vacation too. Yeah. Buffalo as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to Buffalo. Yeah, I'm not going to Buffalo other than to get some wings and to go to the game. I'm not going to Buffalo in the summer. For what? If it's summertime and I want to go, if we can go to the state of New York, I'm gonna go to Manhattan. I'm not going to Buffalo. But yeah, I don't
go
think
to Canada if you just go to Buffalo for no reason. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think they put themselves they hurt themselves. And I'm glad to see that Buffalo, the stadium won't be covered. It won't be able to have a dome. But I believe football should be played in the elements. And I think the aesthetics are nice when the weather's bad. And it also tears you to focus. But some teams lost an advantage. They had the psychological advantage because when it's 30 below, when it's 10 degrees or whatnot, everybody's cold. Everybody's cold. But Minnesota under Bud Grant, they didn't have heaters on the sideline. He didn't allow that. They didn't wear sleeves, and they were just as cold as everybody else. But
Minnesota
mentally,
lost or something without that. Yeah, they
yeah,
did.
but mentally, it messed with the opponent because they're doing this and they're saying,
The Bengals, do they play
yeah,
cover?
I think it's covered now, yeah, but it
See,
used to
they
before it
kind of
wasn't.
lost their little.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh has
it's
an
a
advantage
built-in
not being
advantage.
covered
Yeah,
in certain areas, right?
yeah. So
The only
that
thing,
snow and that
yeah,
weather, it's an advantage mentally because the other team was like, man, I know they got to be cold. They out here dressed like it's 90 degrees, and we out here freezing. Something's got to be wrong with them guys that they can play in this and it's not cold.
and
Everybody's cold, but it
Taekwondo
looks
wasn't out
different.
then.
Yeah, but everything looks different. So I think it's good that they don't have they don't have it covered, and I do think that it gives them an advantage when they're playing other teams, particularly if they're playing teams from the South and from the West Coast. So I think they need to keep the. And if you don't have a dome, don't have a retractable dome, you don't ever need to get one. That's my opinion. And I don't
Um,
think that those cities that do that, those cities that don't put it, I don't think they lose anything because a lot of them
they do
they
lose.
aren't,
They
yeah,
do lose.
they aren't really tourist destination where they're gonna have outdoor concerts anyway during
That's the
certain times
thing.
of the year.
That's the thing. That's the thing. They do lose because these cities and these developers are looking at what you just said. There's a reason why I don't go up there, but now I have to attract you there. And one of the major attractions that football gives you in February is I got a new stadium, but I'll never be in the bidding for a Super Bowl because the Super Bowl is a fast track. Even advantage, there is no advantage. The evenness for the Super Bowl is tropical or inside. No one has ever made equal game snow. No one has ever said, okay, Miami and Tampa, y'all gonna play the Super Bowl in February in Cleveland. Both of y'all hot team, both of y'all playing the cold. Watchable. You want to be able to see, I know injuries and all that stuff at the end of the season, but you want to be able to see. I'm not speaking from a purist, but you do want to be able to see those guys on those prolific positions, quarterbacks especially, not have to deal with the elements. It's kind of fair. And then, the whole week leading up to the Super Bowl, do you really want to be in a cold city? You're still going to have to compete with that. So I think that's the disadvantage that a lot of these developers are now seeing and saying, we generate some revenue. I believe that's why Cleveland is thinking about covering theirs because they don't have LeBron there anymore to generate revenue. What else does Buffalo have?
Wings.
Exactly. They don't have an NBA team. Like they don't have anything bringing anything into the like I don't know. Chicago is still uncovered, right?
Yeah.
There's an advantage in Chicago, but Chicago just is on a whole nother level of just nothingness. But
Yes.
Soldier Field was an advantage, but you're never going to get a Super Bowl. So I do believe that we're just in that age, because I'm looking at what they're doing at Mercedes-Benz Stadium with the convention center next to it, and the tourism. They're trying to generate more and always have those because these stadiums are now they're looking at what the South is doing. These stadiums aren't even getting Big Ten championships in a major NFL stadium. They're not getting a Big 12 championship. What else? Those conferences up north. Like they're
Yeah.
not getting that, and it's kind of I think it's a money grab, and why they want to be more competitive in that market. But speaking of Super Bowls, kind of find myself in a hit refresh moment because a West Coast guy who probably would want but not want to play in a Super Bowl performance in Buffalo in February Kendrick Lamar. See, and that's another part of that too. You got the Super Bowl performers who really want to be out there in the cold. But at any rate, Kendrick Lamar is kind of like is going through this. Well, I don't know if he's going through it, but BMG is going through it with Drake, and he's suing them for the bots, supposedly manipulating the play of really it was the battle, and mostly They Not Like Us. And so the hip hop community itself is kind of on edge because I've never seen this before. They were like, hey, are you that mad at a battle you're going at the So I was just wondering and you may not be following that, but I'm following it a little bit. I was just wondering, because you were talking about the Super Bowl and just brought that up. I'm just a hit refresh guy. What do you think about that? Like I know you're an old school hip hop fan though. See, that's the thing. So what do you think about this going on?
On the surface, and not going looking all into everything else, but on the surface and seeing some of the pleadings of what he's suing for, Drake. How can I say it? In our community, and
You mean
I
the light
feel
skinned man community, in the light skinned man community?
Yeah,
He making y'all look bad. He making y'all look bad.
you making us look bad, man.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you got the people who are of a darker hue are saying, Drake, you acting real light skinned right now, and you don't need to be taking this L. I mean, you can't do that. I understand because he's saying that there was payola going on, which is why they kept playing the song so much. When in actuality, if you ask me, I just think people liked his song, like that song a whole lot better than
it was.
Yeah, and you can't do that. Like when I was growing up, there was a time when it was called playing the dozens. When I was growing up, we called it joning. Then they started calling it cracking on people. Then now I think they call it roasting. Basically, when you're talking about somebody and, you go back and forth. In school, if me and you are joning and you get the better of me, you tear me up that day, I can't go to the principal's office and say, hey, can you call KD to the office because he was talking about me? Well, what happened? Well, we were joning and he said such and such, and then he said this, and then he said my mama, and everybody just kept laughing, and they weren't laughing at my stuff, and I think everybody was just getting on his side because they like him better than me, or I don't think it was fair, and I think you need to do something about it because you shouldn't be doing that. No, dude, you just lost. You lost. You don't go run into the authorities when somebody beats you with something that you actively participated in. If it was that
you volunteered in, that you kind of, I won't say he didn't initiate it, but he definitely started putting them songs out.
Yeah.
And Kendrick was like not saying anything, like they say. It seemed like he was not responding. Looked like he was about to put together a CD, which he kind of did, a little small EP. But
Yeah, you can't do that. If we get into something and I actively engage, and while I'm winning, I'm good. Now I'm starting to lose, so I got an attitude. So now I want to go and tell to get you in trouble. That's not right. And that's what he's done by filing a lawsuit. Now, if it's found that it has some validity, okay, that's one thing. But at the same time, from the culture of hip hop, the culture of battle rap, you don't do that. You take your L and you go on about your business. I mean, because basically right now, he's looking like it's looking like when Biggie said something to Kwame about the polka dots.
Yeah.
And just ended it. You just can't do that. If you're losing and you don't think you can come back, you just bow out gracefully. Yeah, he got me.
Shout out to Kwame who pivoted off of that. And I'm saying this to Drake. And I don't think you need to go that far, but shout out to Kwame. He pivoted off of that. You're out like the Kwame Polka Dots line and became a nice producer
Mm-hmm.
for like 3-4 years. So shout out to Kwame for that. I'm from that era. Now I will say this because I'm gonna go off what you're saying, and don't get me wrong or don't get me right. I'm not taking off for Drake in any type of way. But Drake is basically saying when we were in the lunchroom Jones. Have you ever seen that game that they play on TikTok where they say, "Just give me my money," and then you get to the last guy, you don't clap for him.
Mm-hmm.
Drake is basically saying Kendrick's hype man in the lunchroom had an extra $50 or whatever. And I'm just throwing a number out there. And he told everybody in the circle, don't laugh at Drake's joke, but laugh extra hard at Kendrick's jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna give everybody $3 for that. You know, when you in high school, that extra $3, that might get you the extra pizza, whatever, after school, whatever the case may be. And so that's what Drake's saying. Drake's saying, y'all would have been laughing at my jokes and not laughing at his jokes so hard, but you got paid to do it. That's what Drake is arguing. And my argument to that is 15, 20 years ago, because I'm with you. I am actually with you when you speak of old school hip hop, and we just don't do that, and you're going into another lane. The other side of that is hip hop has moved itself and you know, technology and all these bots. It has moved itself in a place where is this a legitimate argument? Because and I go back to because people are joking about the legality, like you going to the lawyers about this, man. Are you serious? It reminded me of when Luke went to the lawyers when the record stores were manipulating his sales by saying this not this is not that, and you have to go fight the First Amendment. What if man, it's just rap, man. Okay, I'll just find another way to rap. We never get the parental sticker. You know, so I kind of want to let it develop and see what exactly are they doing to the music. And here's why. I think Drake is going to open up Pandora's box to this degree. He's going to show that something is getting manipulated. He's going to make himself look foolish because of how he's putting it out there and the Jonesing that he getting, and he looking light skinned. However, if we now know that you can manipulate that with bots and you can make me like that, now we got to go retrograde back to all of this stripper music and all this other stuff that they might be manipulating in the airplay that we have to hear, and we can't hear the good stuff anymore.
Yeah, they've been doing that since Luke.
Exactly. So I think that's just me. I'm not going against Drake looking bad for doing what he's doing. But the silver lining on this cloud is it might open up Pandora's box to, oh, you all really are sending a message systemically in our community by pounding us and pounding us and pounding us and pounding us with this garbage on purpose. Because I think we did organically not like us, but I think a lot of these songs we don't organically like, but phonically we hear it so much, we chasing the beat and we end up hearing it. So I'm kind of like 85-15 on that one.
Yeah, if that actually transpires and it leads to, well, excuse me, thank you, and it leads to quality music again, I have no problem with it.
Right.
And it flips the script, but on the surface, just looking at him doing that, boy, it's bad.
It's bad.
That's bad, man.
It's bad.
It's bad, man. Just throw your hands up, wave the white flag, and go on about your business. Cause
it's bad.
Yeah, man, I was like, oh, I thought I could do it, and it was fine. But then he did it, and he did it better than me. So I got a problem with it now, and I think I'm gonna sue because you did it better than me, as opposed to, okay, I'm going to put out a better one.
at the end of the day, this probably is really about a cease and desist for Not Like Us being played or being performed at the Super Bowl. So if the court papers are out,
Ooh wee.
yeah, if the court papers are out, I think the NFL will say, hey, we don't want. It's not us, but we do have a audience here that we don't want to get involved in what y'all doing. So go ahead and just do them other songs you got. Do them other songs you got, and leave that young man alone because we don't want anybody coming on our head over a song that's currently under investigation or whatever the case may be. I'm that's hypothetical. I don't know if that can actually happen, but I do know if it does happen.
You never know. It's I could see somebody spinning it that way.
Yeah, spinning it that way and saying, hey, just kind of stay away from that because it's still our broadcast. And as soon as you play it, it'll be like the cop said in the interview. You can play this song, you can play this song, you can play this song, but you're not going to do F the police. So if they tell you not to do it, you're in control. And I almost know if that's something that comes up, I don't know who's broadcasting the Super Bowl this year, but they're going to push that button. You're going to get blacked out for about 10 seconds. I'll black your halftime out. Play with us like that.
It'd be like the only people who are here would be the people who are actually at the game.
Hey, exactly. So then, if you know that happens, people gonna be on their phone, taping, and they gonna have that footage, and they could probably get paid. It's all kinds of things could be going on with that, man. But at any rate, got any last words?
Hey, I'm just looking forward to this weekend, the conference championship games in college. And of course, my Steelers getting a rematch against the Cleveland Browns. But last words is this. In spite of his, or maybe because of his ineptitude at times, Jameis Winston is becoming one of the greatest sound bites, at least in the NFL right now. I mean, his press conferences before and after games, his pre-hype, I mean, just everything. I mean, he said, I saw one where he said, I'm just praying that God would deliver me from pick sixes. So I think Jameis's friends, his teammates, I think they love him because he's sincere, but he's from Bessemer, Alabama, so that explains why he's a country boy and he comes up with that. But man, I think at the same time, his teammates probably look the same way as the Ravens used to do when Ray Lewis would go off doing his stuff, and they'd be like, "Man, what the heck is he? What the heck is he talking about? I mean, he hyped and he's getting us hyped, but what the hell is he saying?"
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, hey, Jameis, keep it up.
Hey, James, I'm gonna tell you like this, man. You gotta learn to be an alchemist, though. You gotta learn to be an alchemist because asking God to deliver you from pick sixes, don't do that. I disagree with that one because here's why. We're in an economy where a lot of restaurants may give you a endorsement or maybe even make your own restaurant and have pick sixes on the menu. And you can pick six items. You can pick six items for under $6 or whatever, or $10. So don't alleviate yourself from what you said when you said pick six. Like, you can change the whole dynamic of the pick six, and you would be the perfect pitch man for that. I'm just gonna put that out there. Now, my last words are this. These are my last words. We got a lot of Hurricane fans feeling jilted right now, and we're feeling like we're on the outside looking in. A lot of us probably are looking like this in the face because of what we did to those FSU fans last year when it was 4.
Mm-hmm.
So all I have to say is this: Jacoby George, I'm not blaming you. But I just don't want you at the combine going through all your interviews, and instead of them looking at you for how you play and what you did on the field, I don't want you going to your interviews looking at your film of how you cost your team 15 yards throughout the season. I want God to deliver you from that. And I'm not saying you cost them the game. I'm not making you to blame. A lot of stuff was on the line, and you could see these entities have this thing with the state of Texas and the SEC. They are always going to get their way. And teams like, I'm going to throw FSU in there. I truly believe SMU could lose this weekend or could have lost last weekend, and because they're in Texas, they would have still not dropped fall. We have to understand that we are in a situation, and to all the organizers and everybody going off on this, we're in a situation where we have to play with these people perfectly because they are football. They are showing you we are football. Nothing bigger in Texas, and there's nothing greater than the SEC. We are football. And anytime we get an opportunity to show you we are, because our loss of 3 will always be better than your 2. And we told you that last year when you didn't lose any. And TCU got in. Where are they from? Where are they from, Tank?
Texas.
There's nothing bigger than Texas, man. Those are my last words. All right, Tank. I just want to wish everybody and thank you for coming and joining us. And make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you comment. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on YouTube at No Jazz Show. Follow us on X at No Jazz Show. Follow us on Instagram at noj.a.s.s. Share or follow us on TikTok at No Jazz Show. We love you, TikTok. You've been doing good for us. I appreciate you. Please, you got any ideas for us? You got anything you want us to talk about? You got anything you wish we would do? You got any hit refresh topics that you would like us to do? Please let us know. We are growing. We love you. It's prosperous. We got some new things coming up for you. And I wish you all a great rest of your college and NFL football season. It is going to be exciting. Salute the people, Tank.
Holla.
You just watched another episode of No Jazz. Follow us on YouTube at No Jazz Show. And make sure you hit us up on Twitter at No Jazz Show. Make sure you hit us up on Instagram at noj.a.s.s. Follow us on Facebook on our Facebook page at No Jazz Show. All right? See you soon.